Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. A little bit upgraded, a little bit different, a little bit brand new. And today I'm joined by Barry. I'm super excited to have you. You've been here for a while now.
I've been 2 weeks, imagine that. How's it?
Who would have thought? Oh, good, and you?
Yeah, very excited. Very excited.
Yeah, so
If you're excited, you got some new toys to play with.
100%. I'm always excited when we get some new equipment and we always upgrade stuff. So I think that's always super cool. But yeah, before we kick off the show, as always, just want to let you guys know some of the events that we have coming up till pretty much the end of the year. So every Thursday we have our Circle of Influence breakfast at Corporate Conference Center. 100 Rand online, 150 Rand in person. So if you're going to come and you're going to pay and you're going to pay at the door, it's going to cost you 150 Rand. This weekend we have the final sales explosion of 2023 on the 3rd and 4th of November. And then on the 1st of December we have the cash flow game taking place at Corporate Conference Center as well. 500 Rand a table of 5. It's a really great game for you guys to come and learn, get kick-started for the new year. And then on the 2nd, we have the Awaken Your Greatness program with Nicole, and that is $150. You guys can check out all our events at www.uncoveringgreatness.com and also on Facebook in the events section on our page. So you guys can check and you can book directly through there as well. So yeah, new month. How do you feel about the new month? November.
Yeah, good. It's my birthday month.
Hectic.
Yeah.
How old you turning?
Hey?
How young are you turning?
It's got nothing to do with you, chum. So no, I'm a jolly young age of 53. I turned 53 this year.
Yeah. So I think it's, for me, what's actually interesting is the topic that we're going to be talking about, and I think it applies for me. It's probably one of the best topics that applies to you. So we're going to be talking about discipline for this episode. Barry's going to be teaching on discipline at Circle of Influence. And I mean, you just competed in a CrossFit competition called Last Man Standing. How was that?
Yeah, it was like there's 3 divisions. There's the beginner division, the intermediate division, and then the RX division. I competed in the beginner division, and a couple of reasons. One is my gymnastics ability, as in things like muscle ups and double unders, are not, I suppose, where they could be.
Yep.
So I struggle with those things. But yeah, it was really cool. I managed to finish 3rd. I think I was the 2nd oldest competitor in the field in our group. There was 19 competitors. I managed to finish 3rd. There was 3 of us over 50. I think I was the 2nd oldest, and I was competing against youngsters that were 17, 23, 30. So it was a lot of fun. And like everything, there's lots of lessons that come out of those things. And I suppose over a period of time, I know that I can't run as fast as those youngsters.
Yeah. But
I've spent a lot of time working on my mindset, so I'm pretty good at grinding stuff out. And that's a lot like business.
Yeah.
I think I watch young people come out of the blocks so fast, and they're gonna hit the world, and they're gonna be millionaires in the next couple of weeks or months or years, and and that's great. And this is not to deaden it, but that's generally not how life works, because it's going to throw some curveballs, and you're going to have to grind through it, and it's that consistent grind. Put your head down when it's hard, grit your teeth, friggin' grind and grind and grind, and yeah. So the question was, how was it? It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
So you've been doing CrossFit now for how long?
Probably 3.5 years. I was working out the other day, maybe 3.5, maybe closing in on 4 years.
So, and that takes an insane amount of discipline, right? In terms of, because you train 6 times.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It all depends on what an insane amount of discipline means.
Okay.
There's many people that rock up to gym every day of their life.
Yeah.
There's many people that rock up to gym every day of their life and don't train that hard.
Yeah.
There's many people that rock up to gym every day of their life and train, in your words, insanely hard. But it depends on insane. In your case, how often do you go to gym at the moment?
Twice a week.
Twice a week. So me going to gym 6 days a week seems insane.
It is.
When I was training for the World Indoor Rowing Champs, I was training 12 times a week.
Mm.
Yeah, so the amount I train at the moment is nothing compared to what that was.
Yeah.
So I think it's like anything, Sully. It takes, depending on what you want to achieve, and how you want to and how you want to show up. It depends on the level of discipline and the level of focus that you put into anything.
Mm.
You know, I could train twice a day. I could do a lot more cardio. I could, if I really wanted to take my CrossFit to another level, I'd have to, you know. So but you know, for me it's become a lifestyle. I get up every day. I train when I travel. I find CrossFit boxes to go and train at.
Yeah.
And that keeps me moving. Keeps me fitter than otherwise I would be if I didn't. Keeps me healthy.
So I mean, for you, does that discipline that you have for working out and training in CrossFit, how does that directly affect how you operate in business?
Yeah, so you know, I think discipline's an interesting thing, and it's something that I've spoken about for a long time, but something that I've really been interested in for years. And I know growing up I was always accused of not having enough discipline. And I was thinking about it last night, and I was thinking, no, you know, when I was growing up I was very disciplined, but I was just disciplined doing the wrong shit. So when my parents looked at me, they called me ill-disciplined because I wasn't doing what they expected me to do. But believe me, when I partied, I was very disciplined. I was highly organized. I was very well structured. I knew where I was jawling. I knew how I was jawling with my mates. I knew what we needed to do. I did it 4 times a week. It was a high level of discipline.
It's a lot of discipline.
Now, did it give me the results that everyone else wanted for me? Probably not. But you know, so that's quite interesting, because I think, you know, to achieve anything, you have to have a high level of discipline.
Yeah.
You know, when I look back, you know, I was accused of not having a high level of discipline, but I don't entirely agree with that. I was very focused on what I wanted to achieve. You know, at that stage of my life, I worked very hard and I played very hard. I would say that I was probably not very responsible. There's a difference between being highly disciplined and highly responsible. I think. But yeah, you know, as I've progressed in business, as I've progressed in the game of personal development and teaching people and learning from other people, you know, your wants, your dreams, your goals, and your desires change. Your responsibilities change. Your needs in life change. You know, your determination of what it is to be successful changes. And with that brings a different level of responsibility, and it brings a different type of discipline.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, the more I become disciplined in exercise, the more I become disciplined in health and wellness, the more I become disciplined in business, the more I become disciplined in money. You know, Nicole has a wonderful saying. She says, you know, in order to master all areas of your life, you have to master one area of your life. And then you duplicate it into the other areas, and I think, yeah, you know, I think is that's a key thing, is what do you want, creating clarity on what you want to achieve,
yep.
And then getting up every single day and pursuing that, and that's your own pursuit.
Yeah.
I think the problem is when it starts with discipline, a lot of people are not focused on what they want. They don't know what they want. And they get lost in doing the wrong things, not doing things consistently, because they don't know what they want. They can't achieve the things that they want to achieve, and then they can't stick to the things that they need to stick to.
So, what is discipline and habit? Would you say discipline and habit is the same thing?
So, well, no, because I think habits are things that you form over a period of time. So discipline, for me, my favorite description on discipline is this: it's doing the things that you know you should do, especially when nobody's watching.
Mm.
Let me say it again. Doing the things you know you should do, especially when no one's watching.
Yeah.
So let's break this thing down. So first thing is you got to know where you want to go. So you got to have an idea of what you want to have. So take it to making money. Okay. So in the next 6 months, I want to make R1 million.
Okay.
Okay. Good. So let's say my bank account is 0 in it right now. In 6 months' time, I want to have R1 million in my bank account. Okay, good. Now I sit down and I go, okay, so I've got a good idea of what I want.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want. But I'm clear. It's not like, oh, it would be wonderful to be a millionaire. It's like, no. I want to make R1 million. Now I go back and say, okay, that's what I want to have. What do I need to do? Okay, good. So now I would go in. I would go if I'm looking in terms of my business. I'd sit down and go, okay, what do I need to do in order to make R1 million? Now I'd go, okay, how many events do I need to run? How many clients do I need to have in those events? What am I going to charge per event? What profit am I going to make per event? Okay, good. Then I'll break it back into, okay, what do I need to do to get those clients?
Yeah.
Now that's where discipline kicks in. Now, because I've got to wake up every single morning and do the things that I need to do in order to have what I want to have. So every morning I wake up, I make a list. I get on the phone, I connect with people, I set up meetings, appointments, speak to people, take them through a process of closing deals. But that takes discipline to do those things every single day. Not now and again, not when I feel like it, not when the sun comes up or the sun goes down or the rain's coming down. Every single day.
Yeah.
You know, so when you follow highly disciplined people, I mean, you know, one guy that comes to mind, and probably one of the reasons is because I love listening to his stuff, is David Goggins. And Goggins is highly disciplined.
Yeah.
And he does what he does consistently day in and day out, and he knows what he wants to achieve, and he doesn't miss a day. And I was listening to a piece by Goggins this morning, and he was saying the problem with most people, and he says most people, a very small percentage of people go beyond this. He says the problem with most people cannot consistently do something for longer than a year.
Jeez.
He says, but the real great people do it for year after year after year after year after year. Now my thought was this: I don't believe most people can stick to something for longer than 90 days, let alone a year in today's world.
Yeah,
It is. How many times do people say, right, that's it, I'm going to lose weight, right, that's it, I'm going to drive my sales. They jump out, they make a list, they stop making phone calls, they don't get the results they want, it becomes too hard, they quit. 3 weeks later you say, what's going on?
Yeah.
And they quit. But it's that doing it day in and day out, and day in and day out, and day in and day out. And it's getting up every day, every single day, and prioritizing those key things that you are going to do every single day. So, you know, and for example, if you're going to give up sugar, you give up sugar.
Yep.
And it's not like, oh, for the next 3 days I'm going to see if I can give up sugar. It's like, I'm going to give up sugar, and I'm going to consistently, and 6 years later I say, Sully, are you eating sugar? You go, no, I gave up sugar. So, and you have that discipline of, to start off with, yes, eventually it becomes a habit that you don't have it. But it's that, you used to wake up, get up every morning, put sugar in your tea, sugar in your coffee, sugar on your porridge, eat chocolate, sweets, boom. So it goes into all areas of your life. Now you make a decision, right, I'm going to give up sugar. Now you've got to manage that decision every minute, every hour, every day. And then eventually it becomes a habit, but it's that discipline of managing that decision.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the hardest part is, it's easy to talk about it. It's finding that it's the consistency of repetitive action. For me, discipline is the consistency of repetitive action, doing it again and again and again, knowing that you have to do it to create the results that you believe you're going to get, even when they're not coming, but you do it again, and even when no one's watching.
Yeah, I mean, so like, while you're speaking, like, two things came to mind, right? Like, for example, like this year, you have been, I'm just throwing out a number here, but like maybe like 6 months out of the year, you haven't been here, right?
Well, I worked it out the other day. I mean, just the context is, I've had 46 flights this year.
And it's not to say that you want to do that. I mean, it's you do want to, but you know what you have to. You have to be disciplined enough to know that I'm flying today.
I don't want to fly. I don't like travel. Travel doesn't excite me anymore. I don't like airports. I don't. It's just I go to airports, go through customs, have to get visas, da 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 da. It's all for me anyway. Painful, horrible shit. But I have to do it.
Yeah.
So it's irrelevant. So I've become pretty disciplined in managing my time and my system to ensure that I know what's in my calendar, when I'm flying, when I'm moving, where I'm moving, and I manage that myself.
Yeah.
Now, I could have a PA, but I've just, over time, found it much easier just to manage that part of my diary myself. I know my clients book my flights. I manage where I'm traveling with them, and I know that that's something that I have to do to go into Africa to be able to teach and train. So I don't whinge and whine about it. I don't complain about it. I don't I don't grumble about it. I just get on and do it.
Yeah. And that's the discipline of it. And the other thing that actually came up was that I remember you teaching Ignite Your Sales, which is our 2-hour preview for Sales Explosion. And you asked this question often, is how much money do you want? And somebody said R1 billion, or they want to be Elon Musk rich. And you were like, and then you broke it down into like, okay, if you put time and money into the same thing. But that discipline, like being able to become a billionaire, right? Let's take out all the other stuff that comes with it. The discipline to become a billionaire is not easy.
Well, you know what's interesting, Sully, is a lot of those, and I've listened to a number of those sort of guys speak, is they didn't set out to become billionaires. They set out to achieve certain things.
Yeah.
You know, Bill Gates, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and he said, I didn't set out to become a billionaire. That was my goal. My goal is to develop something that could help people become more efficient and make a difference in the world. And you know, as Robert Kiyosaki says, is if it makes sense, it'll make money over a period of time. And a lot of people focus on making the money rather than actually creating something that makes sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of those guys go out not to make the money, but to make sense, and then because it makes so much sense, it makes money. You know, I don't know if, but I've never read Jeff Bezos' thing, but I would hazard a guess he didn't set out to become a billionaire. He set out to build a business to add value to people, and that became Amazon.
Yep.
You know, and that became Amazon, and he became one of the richest men in the world. What I guarantee you is he's had specific actions and activity that he's consistently done throughout that whole process. Because, you know, as Goggins says, because it's hard. In fact, in Goggins' terms, he says because it's fucking hard. and you know, and that's the reality is that we don't want it to be that hard.
Yeah.
You know, so when people hear the harshness of that, you know, it's like, oh no, but it is.
Yeah.
It is damn friggin' hard.
Yeah.
And so, but it's the hard part, in my experience, is doing the seemingly mundane things again and again and again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
And at times it's sore, and at times it's even more sore, and at times it's less sore, and it doesn't matter what it is. If you're making phone calls, at times it's sore because no one picks up the friggin' phone, or no one says yes, and everyone says no, or no one has the time. And at other times it's a little bit of both, yeses and nos, and at other times you struck it lucky and you have people that say yes, but you do it again and again and again, and over a period of time, with that consistency in disciplined action, you create results.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, when you think about the greats and like what you're saying, you know, like the mundane things, like Jeff Bezos started Amazon to do books, right? And he did that consistently for many, many years until it became what it is today. Whereas people look and go, well, okay, so I created this thing. They don't even go and they're not disciplined enough to consistently go at it and go at it and go at it. And as you're saying, the yeses and the nos and the getaways and all of that. They try maybe for 90 days, like you said, and then it's like, well, this is too hard. I'm going to go make something else. You know, and you don't... What happens to you when you actually, you cut that discipline? Because I almost feel like you do kind of create it at first, in that sense of you try and you get the no's and you don't, you know. and then it's just like you give up. What happens? What do you think that you'd ever achieve anything great by not being disciplined enough?
No. The answer's simple. I don't believe there's anyone that's achieved anything great in their life without being disciplined.
Yeah.
Nothing. You have to have discipline, and it discipline to a degree becomes obsession.
Yeah.
I believe that in order to achieve anything significant, you have to be obsessed at doing specific things. And therein lies the problem, because everyone talks about, well, you got to have a whole lot of balance and you got to have a whole lot of this. Sure. Well, it depends what balance means.
Yeah.
You're going to the Olympics, you better be friggin' well balanced in exercising every day of your life.
Yeah.
And you get up every single day and you exercise and you eat properly and you manage that and you do this. I mean, all your buddies are out doping. You're not out doping. Well, I don't know if that's balanced. Well, if you're going to get all balanced, you're not going to make the Olympic Games.
No.
You want to build a business. You can't be getting pissed with your mates 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
Well, you can if you want to, but I don't see a lot of highly successful business owners doing that. Eventually they get to the stage where they get absolutely laser focused on the stuff they have to do. And they understand when to play. But most of the time people don't see what they do. And I think that's the other thing in discipline. Most people don't see what highly successful people do.
They see the end result.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
So, the hours that, I've got a number of very successful clients. And I know how some of them operate because I spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
And I watch how they operate. They have consistent things they do every single day. They get up, they exercise every single day. They're in their office. One of my clients gets up every single morning at 4:30. Does a bit of reading in the morning. Is in his office from 5 until 6. Doing emails every single day. Then he exercises, and at 7 he drops his kids off at school. That's what he does every single day when he's at home. Another one of my clients gets up 10 to 5, 5:15. He has a personal trainer and he trains every single morning. He spends time with his kids and he's in his office by 7:30. But they do consistent things all the time.
Yeah.
And then when they get to the office, they're focused on what they have to do for the day. They clear, and they hold that space in what they need to do.
Yeah.
And so a number of things in discipline is one, when you're not clear on what you want to achieve and you're not clear on what you want to do, you'll get swayed to go do a whole lot of other things. How many times have you decided, I'm going to do this, and then a buddy says, Sully, come do this, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'll just do that for today. Okay, highly disciplined people don't do that. They're like, no, I'm doing this. And everyone else goes, but come and do this. No, I'm doing this because I know what I need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, for me, I think I was even saying to Nicole a while back, I think like that's been like the power of of Ultimate Greatness experience for me, is for 5 days, like it's about the delegates, right? But for 5 days, actually for 6 days, as a team, we have got to be incredibly disciplined, because there's a lot of stuff that we are doing and there's a lot of stuff that is happening that needs to happen so that the program runs successfully and it runs smoothly. One moment of ill discipline can throw the whole thing out of whack, right? And like I think back to like even during COVID, we had and I felt it was an insane amount of discipline of, we are going to connect every single day.
Yeah.
Every day. And like I look around now and like in this person, let me just a disclaimer, I don't think there's anybody in the country that does does things the way that we do, that teaches and trains the way we do. But like after COVID, I haven't seen many of those teachers and trainers around, because I mean, so for me, I feel it was, the lack of the discipline. They didn't have that discipline to keep going. But at the same time, so how important is it to actually have a leader that is disciplined, right? So for me, I look at it and I go, well, you create this trickle-down effect amongst the rest of us. And it's actually not a thing of, you have to do it like me. It's you in your space have to find your level of discipline. How important is that?
Well, I think it's essential, because if you're going to lead any group, my belief is simple, you've got to be the most disciplined person in that team. and then you have to demand levels of discipline. One of my weaknesses is not disciplining myself; it's disciplining my team. I should be demanding my team players at a much higher level.
Yeah.
So no, and I don't agree with you. I believe that the job of a leader is to operate themselves at a high level, and then demand that the people on their team operate at a high level, and create the space that allows people to grow into that level. But if I mean, take the World Cup. Mm-hmm. Do you think Sia may not be the most disciplined in that squad, but I guarantee you he doesn't miss friggin' practices.
No.
He doesn't argue with his coach. He doesn't backchat people. He leads by example.
Yeah.
And that means because he leads that team, he can hold everybody else to an example. Now, if you honestly think that the guys in the Springbok team, if they didn't feel like rocking up for practice here, would go, okay, it's fine, Sully, you're not the captain. No, it's not. See, but that's the problem is, so, but you can't, if you're not operating at a high level of discipline, how can you expect other people to operate at a high level of discipline?
That's true.
Does that make sense?
100%.
So, I mean, I want everyone on my team to become fit.
Yeah.
I want you and Michaela and me and Nicole and Michelle and everyone on our team to operate at a much higher level of fitness. Now, if I could expect you guys to become fit, but if I'm a fat sloth,
yeah.
Well, what are you thinking?
You're crazy.
Well, I train every day of my life. Well, is it unreasonable for me to, if I was to sit down with you now and say, Sully, okay, you and I are going to have a moment. We teach discipline.
Yeah.
You need to become more disciplined in your health and wellness.
Yeah.
Now it's meeting you where you're at and going, okay, so you train twice a week. Sully, what would it take you to train 4 times a week or 5 times a week?
Not much, actually. It really wouldn't.
Okay, so now as the leader, I'm going to sit down and say, okay, how can I help you do that? And if you do that, what will it create?
Yeah.
And do you want to become more disciplined at work? And do you want to become more disciplined in your family life? And do you want to operate at a higher level? Yes or no?
Yep.
Okay, good. So if you do that, if you do it in the physical aspect, if you start losing a little bit more weight, if you start getting a little bit fitter, if your mind becomes sharper, what's going to happen?
It operates at a much higher level.
Okay, good. So now we can have that discussion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But to go back to your question, if I'm a leader and I'm totally ill-disciplined, and I'm not rocking up on time, and when it comes to our events, I don't think there's anyone in our team that's as disciplined as me in our events.
No.
I'm not late for our events.
No.
I'm always there for our events. I know who's coming, who's not coming. I always know what's going on.
Yep.
So I lead from the front.
Yep.
And in that, can I get better? A lot better. Can I grow? Much more.
Yeah.
But from that perspective, I can demand my team plays at a high level.
No, definitely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
and that discipline goes into all areas of life.
Yeah.
If you're ill-disciplined with money, I know previously when I was not nearly as disciplined as I am in my finances and my money and my wealth management, I was conflicted in holding other people accountable to that level of discipline in money. The more focused I've become on my financial discipline and increasing my level of financial discipline, the more I can hold everybody else around me at a higher level of financial discipline.
yeah. I think it's actually an interesting thing. I think that because we actually never spoke about it, but not unintentionally. I can never say it's unintentional. So everything that you've done in the past few months has trickled down to me in terms of my life and my discipline, right? And having to actually go, because I look back at myself a year ago, I don't even have to go that far. Like a year ago, I was very ill-disciplined with money, with a lot, pretty much most of my life I was ill-disciplined. And then just watching you operate this year, we never had to speak about it, but just looking at you and going, well, I mean, if he's going at 500% and I'm going at 5%, why am I here? right? And that level of, okay, cool, I can step it up. I can, and just like the way you did it now, right? And I think, and you can tell me what you think about this, but I feel like that's where a lot of leaders are lacking in terms of creating teams that are disciplined. Because it's, so you asked me questions about what I wanted. You didn't say to me, this is what you're gonna do. This is how you're going to operate. You just asked me questions. So you train two times a week. Could you train 4 times a week? Right? Whereas other leaders would have been like, no, you're gonna train 4 times a week. So what happens to your team when you, especially when it comes to discipline like making calls, right? Especially when it comes to sales. You say to your team, you guys have to make 50 calls a week. What happens when you do that versus asking them, what do you think would happen if you were to make 50 calls? Could you make 50 calls? Could you make 10 calls? What do you think happens in that sort of exchange?
So I think it goes back to the first thing is in order to have the expectation that your team can do certain things, you've got to be prepared to do them. That's just my take. Okay, the second thing is, look, if you've never made 50 calls in a week, well, I can expect you to make 50 calls, but I've also got to meet you where you're at to make sure that I'm setting you up for success. So what I want to do is sit down and say, okay, Sully, have you ever made 50 calls? And you go, no. And then I go, okay, have you ever made 20 calls? No. Okay, good. Okay, Sully, do you think you could phone 5 people a day?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Could you do it 4 days a week?
Yes.
So we'll start with 20. Could you commit to doing that for the next 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Will you report back to me every day and tell me when you've made your 5 phone calls?
100%.
Okay, good.
Done.
Now I want to watch. One, can you take accountability for what you said you were going to do, and can you be responsible for what you said you can do? And then do you have the discipline to go out and do it? Now, if I can get you to make 5 calls a day, 4 days a week, and do it for the next month, and you can do it. Now you make 80 calls in a month. Now do you think I could say, Sully, do you think you could make 5 calls 5 days a week?
Yeah.
Now next month we take it to 100. And then could you make 7 calls? Then could you make, eventually making 10 calls 5 days a week, you're on 50 calls, you're making 200 calls. But eventually what will happen is you'll start going, shit, I can push the game to a higher level. This is crap. I can play higher. I want to play higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. So this, I've been looking at it since we actually started. Discipline is Destiny, by Ryan Holiday. I actually love that title. Because I mean, if you have discipline, I think it was something you've been actually saying it pretty much throughout. If you have discipline in one area, just one area, you can achieve what you want.
Yeah. So there's a wonderful author, a guy called Ryan Holiday. He's one of his first books that I read was Ego is the Enemy, and he's written this really cool series. He calls it the Stoic series. I'm a little bit of a Stoic.
The Stoic era.
I'm a little bit of a Stoic. In fact, quite a lot of a Stoic. I think. And there's a wonderful book called Discipline is Destiny and the Power of Self-Control. And that's really what discipline is. It's self-control. So I go back to what I first started to say, was when I was young, was I disciplined? Well, when you look at it in terms of self-control, I got to the stage when I'd eventually lose self-control, and then I was probably ill-disciplined. In fact, I was ill-disciplined. So a high level of discipline is a high level of self-control. Can you do the things that you know you should be doing when you should be doing them and not let anything else sway you off the path that you should be on?
Yeah.
That's it. It's Jordan Peterson teaches, in his 12 Rules for Life. And I recently watched someone, say, Jordan Peterson, the simple things like make your bed in the morning, that's just, very, very simple. And it's not as simple as that. It's like, it is as simple as that. It is. Get up every friggin' day of your life and make your bed.
Yeah.
Do it every single day. Every day. Not because mum told you, not because your wife's going to cuck on you because you're in the shit again. Do it every single day. Get up, get out of bed, make your bed before you leave. Don't wait for your helper or your maid to come in and make it. Make it every single friggin' day. That's discipline. That's self-control. Yeah, but I don't have to because, no, do it.
Yeah.
It's like brush your teeth every day. Yeah, but everyone brushes their teeth. No, they don't. Does that make sense? So you get up, and Jordan Peterson teaches it, and it goes back to the simple things. If you can get up every day and make your bed, you can get up every day and make 10 phone calls. You can get up every day and clean your office. You can get up every day and go to the gym. You can get up every day and watch what you put in your hand, what you put in your mouth. You can do it. If you can't do those things, you'll the less self-control you have.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know what they call that, but the thing underneath the title, the power of self-control. So I don't think that, so like you when you're speaking about, like, so you want to build this business, and then your friends come and they say, hey, let's go out, and you're like, okay, cool. And then what most people try and do is blame it on their friends. Well, my friend was having a braai, or...
Well, it's a lack of responsibility. So
but you have no self-control.
100%.
You can, because like yours, something you teach on a lot is little voice, right? And that's actually where discipline starts.
That little voice comes up and goes, oh, I want to go with my mates.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So, in the back of the book here, it says self-discipline. Nothing is possible without it. Nothing. If we're not in control of our emotions, our urges, our habits, where will we end up? In mediocrity and regret. From elite athletes to great artists to heads of state, the most important battles in history have always been with the self. Winning is essential. It determines what we can do. It determines who we are. Discipline is destiny, and do you have it? In my experience, most people lack self-discipline.
It's funny, while you were reading that, I was thinking of Donald Trump, and how Donald has so much self-control that he was throwing everybody else off themselves. So they didn't know how to be themselves. Because he's self-controlled, he's so focused on what he's doing and his level of self-control, that he was throwing Hillary off. Mitt Romney did stupid. I'm like, man, that's actually quite interesting, right? And that could be the power of discipline. You could make other people. I'm trying to put it in a positive way, but I feel like it is positive, right? Especially when you're if you're in competition, you can throw people off their game by by your discipline.
If you go into a competition and you are very present. And I watched my coach compete this weekend. Very self-disciplined in terms of how he operates. He knew his game plan. He knew what he had to do, and he just stuck to it. He didn't change because everyone else was around him. What happened is because he had so much self-control on the pace he was going at, and it was, some of his workouts were tough, very, very friggin' tough.
Yeah.
And he pushed himself and kept at that pace, that it threw other people off their game, because it was like, oh crap, where did this dude come from? Then they started going faster and making mistakes, and that's what happens. So what happens is everyone gets worried about everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's called the power of self-control. No, I'm going to get up every day of my life and I'm going to go to gym. Yeah, Boyke, but we said we were going fishing. Good, we go fishing after I go to gym.
Yeah.
I know, but that's crazy, man. Come on. No. That brings up that one word that I love, and I first got it from Blair Singer. That's one of the things I really loved about Blair, and still do to this day, is he operates with a very high level of self-control and self-discipline. I mean, right from when I met him, one of the fittest guys I know, into his 60s now, and he's incredibly fit. Summits Kilimanjaro at least once a year. And Blair now is probably, he's well into his mid-60s. And that stood me for the past 17 years, is that level of, of self-control. And, it is that, Sully, it's that, can I get up and do what I have to do, because I know that that's what I have to do in order to achieve what I need to achieve. I think I've learned this, is you have to look after yourself. And the problem is most people are not looking after themselves because they're so friggin' worried about everybody else.
That's true.
Look after yourself, and when you look after yourself, you look after others. And guess what? You will connect with the right people who connect with you. This is something I know comes out of discipline. When you are very focused on what you want to achieve, and that was the word I wanted to bring up. When you are unreasonable in pursuit of what you want to achieve, when you are unreasonable in doing the things every day that you have to do, what will start happening is once you start doing them, you will start finding other people that will stand up in support of helping you get there, not helping you detract. And the people that try to detract will fall away. But you got to start with you, and that's why I love this. What Ryan Holiday writes in this wonderful book, Discipline is Destiny, is what you do today determines your tomorrow. What you do today determines your tomorrow. Everyone's complaining about the future, but they're not focused on the activities that they have to take today. What's the one phone call you have to make today? Make it. What's the one email you've been putting off? Make it. What's the one set of list that you have to draw up so tomorrow you have a list that you can phone? What's the one appointment that you need to book now? What's the next appointment you need to book? Get it done. Do it now, and have the self-control to get it done. And that goes back to all the things like getting through your little voice, building yourself up. But make the decision to do it, and then just do it.
And I think that's also an important thing around discipline, right? Discipline is actually about the present. It's actually not about, because you cannot predict the future. You can't be like, and that people do that all the time. I know, I do it. Put it off till tomorrow. Tomorrow may not come.